Hi, and welcome to Thriving Through the Holidays. In this session, we're talking about healing holiday habits, and I am so excited to introduce my guest to you. As an adventurous traveler and explorer, and someone who has moved from victim to survivor to thriver and beyond to freedom after facing many adversities, Lois has many ideas for surviving those challenging holiday times. She is based in Johannesburg, South Africa, and she will be sharing ideas on how to ignite your mojo based on events and lessons from her own story that moved her through fear into forgiveness, to freedom, and into the light. Lois Wagner is an accomplished speaker, storyteller, mentor, inspirer, facilitator, and empowering coach through her program using the acronym SMILE. So lower your guard, open your heart to find the light as we welcome Lois to share her smile with us as she takes you on a journey of healing. Lois, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Tracy. I think this is such a valuable project that you're working on.
It's so important because there's so many things that can trigger us through the holiday season. And for so many, especially if the trauma occurred this time of year, it can be very, very difficult. And so I just felt like, you know what, we've got to get something out there to help these women and any men who are listening with some great coping skills to get them through the holiday season. So I want to hear more about this mojo thing. How do I get my mojo back?
Well, obviously when we're triggered, we lose our mojo, and mojo is really it's happiness. So mojo it's that specific thing that's inside of you, and so I talk about it as being your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul. And it's getting your passion back and your creativity and your magic and your optimism. It's all those good things, your purpose, finding your joy, getting that positivity back. So we need to go looking for that mojo. And if we look at those 4 areas or even 5 areas, the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul, and we address each of those areas independently and integrate them, we can get our mojo back, and we can manage those triggers, and we can get through those difficult times. I was also triggered. My trauma also happened over the holiday period, so I can relate.
Right. I mean, just the sounds, the smells, just the thought of having to deal with family drama or family dinners, all of that kind of stuff can really just make us wish the holidays would go away. I know for me last year was rough because I lost Mark in May, and that first Christmas without him, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I still have kids at home, I wouldn't have done anything. I barely did anything because I had no mojo.
Well, we can get our mojo back. It's not always easy. And I think the place to start is with the emotion that you're feeling at the moment. Whatever that emotion is, it might be fear, or it might be sadness or depression, whatever, or it could even be hatred. You hate that person or that situation that created your trauma. And so it's important that you acknowledge that emotion. So often we say, it happened so long ago, let's forget about it, let it go. And that's not the answer. You have to acknowledge that emotion. So I've got a little process that I go through. We don't have time to go through the whole thing now, but it's basically take that emotion, evaluate it on a scale of 1 to 10, and really feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it, and let it stay with you for a moment, and look for the lessons that it's bringing you as well, because there are always lessons. When you're in the denial phase, for example, it's a good phase to be in because it's helping you recover before you move on to the next phase. So it's acknowledging those and then accepting that is actually a reality. That is how you feel. And then you go into the whole visualization of how you want to feel. So it's finding that alternative emotion, that wonderful feeling that you want. And it's not just saying, I want to be happy. It's what is happy? Because what's happy to you is different to what is happy to me.
Absolutely.
So it's defining exactly what happiness is. Is it the sun shining? Is it a bird flying? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? And really, really visualize, get into that state that you would like to experience, and create a vision board and create affirmations that go around it. And so that's the first one, is to proactively look to where you want to be, how you want to feel during that time, and then create it for yourself.
I like that. I am so big on vision boards. I love making them, and they're so much fun. You just, you go through old magazines and cut out pictures and words and phrases that catch your eye, colors, even, and they have the perfume things in there, a scent that you like, take that out and put it on your board. And they're powerful.
Find all the senses. You say, well, how does happiness smell? Maybe it smells of a cup of coffee to you, or maybe it's a smell of a rose. What does it smell like for you? And then it's also when you visualize something and you've created that vision board, create a vision statement or an affirmation, and then share that. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. The more you share it with other people, the more the universe is going to support you in finding that. And then couple that with a gratitude statement. Gratitude is also so important.
So let's talk a little bit about gratitude statements. What exactly do you mean by those?
Well, I'm grateful. If I think of my situation, I was viciously attacked by a stranger and raped, and I was left for dead. And what I'm grateful is it has brought me to where I am today. It took me a long time to get here, but I'm so grateful today that I'm in a position to serve other people who've had the same or similar kinds of trauma or bad experiences in their lives. And it's brought me, I'm finally publishing a book, which has been on the drawing board for 25 years. And so I'm grateful, because if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't have the book. So there's lots you can be grateful for. And if you can't find those big gratitude things, the little gratitude, hey, the sun is shining and I can go out and I can watch the sun, or I can run in the rain, or, look for the little things. I've got food on my table. It doesn't matter how small it is, but obviously if you can find big ones, that's great.
Well, and I think when you first start out, it's hard, like you said, to find those big ones, especially when you're first coming out of the trauma, and you're still really in that recovery mode. So those just the little things that you can find. I'm grateful for my dog laying on the bed, because she gives me comfort. I'm grateful for, just being able to talk to a friend. Just those little things. I am just grateful that I am still here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think those things kind of add up. It's almost like the same thing when you do just your I am statements. I am strong, I am powerful, I am healthy, I am this, I am that. Eventually the mind really starts to believe what you're saying. So even if you don't necessarily maybe feel 100% grateful for things, just those little tiny things that you can feel grateful for will start triggering those bigger ones.
Absolutely. And then if you look at the different areas of your life, the body, go for a walk, get out in nature. And if you can't get out into nature, go and pick a leaf up and
Right.
Look at it and examine it. And mindfulness, if you can just slow down and be in the present moment, I think that is the most powerful. If you can just be in the now and let the past go into the past for a while and just focus on the now, I always say we should be like dogs. When a dog is out for a walk, it sees a rabbit and it chases the rabbit, and then it sees its tail and it chases its tail. Then it decides to have a pee on the tree. It lifts its leg on the tree, and then it sees the rabbit again. And then there's a leaf and it chases the leaf. And dogs live in the moment. You watching your dog and you're thinking about the workload and you're thinking what you're going to have for dinner tonight, and you're thinking about the trauma that happened to you. And the dog is just carrying on with its life. It's also had some kind of a trauma, and it's just enjoying the moments. And if we could learn to be more like dogs, I think we would be a lot happier.
Yeah, I hear you. As my dogs are all scattered around sleeping, they're very happy, lazy dogs.
But they're happy. They're in the moment.
They're happy, yes. And living in the moment that's all we have. There is, where did I hear it? I heard somewhere, and I can't remember where I heard it. I think it was a song. But the present is the present because it's a gift to us. That's all we have right now. The future hasn't happened. The past has already happened. So all we have is right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then of course, exercise and sleep, and nutrition. The obvious ones: look after yourself, make sure you get in that fresh air, make sure you're getting a bit of exercise and eating well and sleeping well. And that in itself makes you feel good.
It does. I've been going through a major bout of insomnia lately. And you can really tell the difference. You feel sluggish, you get irritable more, and you don't cope with the traumas and the triggers as well. So those nights where I do get really good sleep, like last night, I was able to sleep really well. And I feel alert. I am energetic. I feel happy today. It's amazing how much better you feel when you're taking better care of yourself.
Absolutely. And then if we move on to the soul, it's looking for the good things for the soul. So if you like reading, read. If you like art, go and look at a good piece of art. Mm-hmm. If it's entertainment, not mindless, a little bit of mindless entertainment on television, but good theatre, good entertainment, something that really is going to lift your spirits. And use your imagination, get creative, take up a hobby. It could be stringing beads, those things that you focused on something. If you focused on a hobby, it could be photography, it could be, anything, painting, cooking. If you just focus on something that's going to use your creativity and your imagination, then your mind is just focused on good stuff, and you're not focused on whatever it is that's traumatized you.
The negative. Yeah. I like to read urban fantasy. It's one of those little secrets about me that, probably shouldn't tell people, but I do anyway, because, hey, it's just who I am. It gets me away from reality for a while and resets my brain. And sometimes that's just what you've got to do. Like you said, you got to get lost in a book or lost in a hobby, something that can just reset that brain and get you out of dwelling on the past, on whatever it was that has happened, and bringing you back into the present. I like that.
And then celebrate. Find something to celebrate. Sometimes it's hard, especially when you've gone through a lot of difficulties and challenges, but there's always something to celebrate. It goes along with that gratitude. So if you find that thing to be grateful for, then celebrate. Have your favorite piece of cake or your glass of wine or whatever it is that brings you joy, and celebrate and share it with a friend that something good has happened. Spread the word, spread that. Celebration is very rewarding, and it's incredibly healing.
It is. It is. Because it brings about that euphoria. It puts you into a whole different mindset. You can't celebrate if you're feeling, oh, woe is me.
Yeah. So it gets all the chemicals in the brains working in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
And then also, whilst I said be mindful and stay in the moment, it's also important that you start getting some future focus. So it's not living in the future, but have those aspirations. What is it that you're wanting to achieve? It's not so much a goal. You must have goals, but that aspiration. My aspiration was I'm going to eradicate sexual violence in the world. And that's a great aspiration to have. And if you've got that future focus, it helps everything that you do. You start thinking about how this step can help that future dream or to become a reality. So some future goals, it's very important to have them, that you know there is something after trauma.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know, one of my sayings is there is life after trauma. I think most of us who work in trauma have that saying, because there is, you know, like trauma happens. It's something that happened to you. It's not who you are. It happened to you. And now it's time to let it go. And you have to eventually let it go. You accept it, but you release the emotions that are around it. And replace them with happier ones, because that's really, to me, the only way that you can thrive after trauma. You can't hold on to that negative toxicity. It just makes you sick.
And for me, the best way to do it, but you have to be ready. It doesn't come automatically, and you've got to be in the right frame. But for me, the most healing aspect of all is forgiveness.
Now, when you talk about forgiveness, are you talking about self-forgiveness? Because for me, that is very, very important. Or do you believe in forgiving those who have wronged you?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. And I'll just quickly share my story of forgiveness. The rapist got 25-year prison sentence, and after he was in prison for 14 years, they changed the law in South Africa where victims, as they're called, are allowed to attend a parole hearing and make
a statement.
You know, yeah, I could think of the word there. And I went to the prison. It was quite amazing because I was living out the country at the time, and I was arriving back on holiday the day before the parole hearing, which I didn't know about. It was amazing. So I decided to go. And I was the first person in South Africa to actually attend a parole hearing after this law changed.
Wow.
And I went into that prison and I forgave him. And you know, the most amazing thing about forgiveness, it's not condoning what he did. It's not saying he should get out of prison and he should get parole. It's not saying he shouldn't be punished. It's not saying I shouldn't be compensated in any way. Right. What it is, for 14 years, I had been hating and living with that trauma of that man and what he did to me. And I was bound to him. And he was with me all the time. And the most amazing thing was, as when I forgave, it literally broke that tie. It literally broke that tie. As I left the prison, they said to me they would tell me in 7 days if he got parole or not. And I looked at them and I said, no, you're not going to tell me. I don't want to know. Because at that moment, I was free of that man. And to this day, which is now a number of years later, I have no idea if he got parole or not. I have no idea if he's in prison, if he's dead or alive, but it's of no concern to me anymore. And that is what true freedom is. And so I say, when you're ready, do it. And it's not a difficult process. You've got to be ready, and there's a few steps one should take to prepare for it. But it's actually quite easy.
That can be very empowering. I teach my clients and those that I work with that self-forgiveness definitely has to come first. And I think that until you can forgive yourself, and when I'm talking about, I'm not saying, you're saying that it's my fault that happened because I was in this place, I wore this dress, I was doing this, I was doing that. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when we become that victim, we end up getting all these emotions and all these thoughts and feelings, and we have the anger, and we do have the guilt, and we do have the shame and the embarrassment. And, so many of us do go through, well, what if? What if I hadn't partied with the two guys who assaulted me when I was passed out? What if I hadn't done this, that, and the other thing? As I was able to forgive myself for, just having those thoughts, having the anger, having the hatred, that right there really kicked off my healing journey and allowed me to release those emotions. So when I talk about forgiveness, that's what I talk about. Forgiving the perpetrators. I don't know. I subscribe to a little bit of a different theory. But I think it's personal for everybody. We all have our own journey.
And as I said, it took me 14 years. So it's not something that you say, oh, I must forget him. You work through it as you go through the healing process. You will find a time that you'll think, well, I must let it go now, and
yeah. And with the first rape, I can't say that I have forgiven him, but I've let it go. I don't harbor any ill will. I don't harbor any feelings toward it anymore. I'm almost, I'm basically neutral at this point. It's kind of like, it happened.
You said almost.
What's that?
You said I'm almost neutral. So you're not quite there. So forgiveness not yet.
Yeah, I guess maybe almost wasn't the right choice of words. Good catch, coach. But I do. I think I feel just kind of a neutral. I don't feel one way or another about it, is what I was trying to convey. And maybe that's forgiveness. I don't know. I just know that for me, that's letting go. We have to do that. We have to heal.
We do.
So as we wrap up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying there's so many other tips. One is self-management, is managing your time, making sure that you've got, where you're going and how you're going and how you're spending your time is also important. Because if you suddenly find yourself flustered because you've got too much to do, or the opposite, that you don't know what to do, that's when the negative thoughts can come in. So you need to do some self-management as well.
Absolutely. I was going to say, in the final moments of our conversation, what are some good tips specifically for the holiday season that you can give our listeners for healing and just thriving during this season rather than just trudging through?
I think I've mentioned it. It's take those emotions, feel them, visualize an alternative reality, and work with it. But then, there's techniques you can use. There's the EFT tapping. Mm-hmm. There's techniques where you stroke your fingers and you concentrate on your fingers. Those kind of techniques can just take you out of the moment of negativity and calm you down and make you feel good. So there's lots of little techniques. There's thousands of techniques out there that you can use. But just find that hobby, find that interest, and find that support. Find somebody you can speak to, a friend, a therapist, a spiritual advisor, your dog or your cat. Speaking and writing, just get it out of you. Share it with the universe, and breathe. Breathe.
That one is important right there. Just remember to breathe. Well, thank you so much for joining me and, sharing your words of wisdom. It's been a pleasure as always. I love talking with you.
Thank you, Tracy. I enjoy your chats as well.
And for those listening, thank you for joining us, and we will definitely talk to you in the next session.